Welcome to another recording of the Tax-Free Tuesdays here at Cashflow Architects. If you're watching this is a pre-recorded event that no one paid to attend. It's absolutely free. And because of that, I want to have a quick disclaimer and say this is not considered financial advice. This is just simply education. Our intention here is to give you an idea of what kind of options you have when it comes to retirement income and how to avoid future income taxes. So please take it as that, just education. Now remember, as you watch this, everyone's in a unique situation. So we're trying to be as blanket as we can when it comes to the education side. If at some point during the call you want to have a one-on-one conversation with either Tom or someone from our team, click the button below and schedule a one-on-one call. It's absolutely free. You can find an hour on your calendar that works best for you, and someone from our team will reach out and we'll do a Zoom call where you can talk about exactly where you are and where you want to end up. That way you can get your one-on-one questions answered with no other audience listening in. And please have fun with this call. If you have thoughts or questions or any pushback, please feel free to email us at matt@cashflowarchitects.com or set the one-on-one appointment and we can help you directly. We look forward to talking to you and enjoy. But welcome to another Tax-Free Tuesday. We have a couple of repeats. Donna, I got good news for you in Iowa. We got good news on your stuff. So glad you're here, and we'll probably be reaching out again later today. Saul, it's good to see you here, my friend. Man, we have people from all over the country. This is so cool. From California to Maryland to Florida, like literally across the map.
Yep.
Awesome to see. So you're in the right spot if you want to talk about how to increase your cash flow in retirement by reducing the risk you're exposed to. Wow, it sounds like an oxymoron. How could we do that? How can we get more cash flow and reduce the risk? Well, the first one is taxation. The second way is fees that you pay your advisor. And the third way is market volatility. How do we can, by eliminating those three factors, we can increase your cash flow. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen here, everybody. Give me a second while this pops up. If you hear something that you like, let me know in the chat box so I know that you're resonating with what I'm talking about. If you hear something that's confusing, let me know in the chat box. Let's bring more clarity, because if you're confused, somebody else might be confused as well. So I want to make sure that you guys get everything that you want out of this call. It is scheduled for about an hour. Usually we don't take a full hour depending on the engagement. So you can see my screen, Robert?
Yep.
Cool. All right, guys, this is the mountain. This is an analogy. This is a conversation, a theory piece. This is going to talk about the direction that we're going. So if I talk about the mountain being my journey of life, I could say that the top of the mountain is my retirement phase. Okay. When I get to the top of the mountain, I want to retire. On this side of the mountain, I'm growing my wealth. I want my pile of money to be bigger and bigger and bigger. And on the right side of this mountain, retirement years, I don't necessarily want to talk about spending my assets. Ideally, what we talk about is spending the growth so that you can preserve your assets, right? I don't want to say names, but there's financial entertainers out there. Some are located here in Nashville. They talk about if you inherit $3 million or you get to retirement with $3 million, your account's going to do 12% every year. So you can take off 10% every year, live on $300,000 a year, and you'll be fine for the rest of your life. Holy smokes, is that a bad position to be in? It's not true. And I'm going to prove it by the end of this call. We're going to go over specific examples. First, we're going to talk about products. Then we're going to talk about strategy. And finally, after that, we're going to give you a couple of examples so that you can see what this looks like. So the idea of retirement is not necessarily to spend your assets to zero. It's how do I preserve my assets? Heaven forbid you like your spouse. You know, if you're gone, you want your spouse to be successful through his or her retirement years. Maybe, hopefully you like your kids. It'd be nice to be able to pass on something to the kids and the grandkids. How that money gets transferred or your legacy is arguably more important than chasing a rate of return because of taxes, fees, and volatility. So the goal of this conversation is how do I not only preserve my assets, but how do I live on more money? How do I create more cash flow so that I still am able to pass on and preserve all of this that I've worked for? By eliminating these three things: taxation, unnecessary taxation, unnecessary fees, and unnecessary volatility. And when I say volatility, I'm not talking about right now. Look at what the market has done this year. The market did not react well to Trump's tariffs. People are losing money. It's the worst time to sell stock. When Warren Buffett in 2008 was asked, Warren, you lost millions of dollars in the last few months. How are you feeling? His response was, I didn't lose anything. I'm not selling. You only lose when you sell. And if you don't sell for a loss, you didn't lose. The problem that everyone on this call faces is not having buffers, not having options. That creates the problem when you're in retirement years and the market's down and you're required to sell just to go buy groceries or pay the mortgage. That's the problem. So if this is what everybody wants to talk about, we kind of went cold here in the chat box. Give me a let's go in the chat box if you don't want to talk about these three main items. Say let's go in the chat box.
Lose anybody? There we go, Victoria. Thank you, Victoria. Appreciate it.
I would love to hear more about Highlands, man. My gosh, that is such a cool place, dude.
Thank Clifton. And for those late joiners, just to let you know, if you missed the first couple of minutes or if you missed any part of this webinar, we do send out a replay. So don't feel bad if you missed anything or if you have any questions. There you go.
Okay. It's Tuesday afternoon. Let's have fun. I don't do this because I have to. I like talking about this. So if you guys have questions, please throw it in the chat box. Like Robert said, we talk every day. So it's nice to talk to other people too. Okay, here's the scenario. There's two accounts. Account A has $5 million. Account B has $3 million. If that's all of the information that you knew, which account would you rather own? Chat box. Account A or account B? Well, most people are going to look at that and go, yeah, I want more money. But what if I told you that account A gives you $150,000 a year taxable, and account B gives you $150,000 a year tax-free? Chat box. Which account would you rather own? This isn't rhetorical.
There we go. A little cold in the chat box here.
I understand people are on the phone. It's hard to go back and forth from the chat. So we got the B's. So here's the challenge, everyone. Most people are familiar with this account. Growing an account to have a lot of money. On the left side of the mountain, it looks great because it's bigger. You might have heard of things called like deferring taxes. So the account value has this false sense of security where it's a huge account value, but the IRS hasn't gotten their fair share. Now, if you're taking notes, write this down. This is one of my favorite lines. You remember when AOC went to the ball, the gala that was like $500 a dinner, a plate, and she wore that hideous dress that said tax the rich? The government doesn't tax the rich. They tax your ability to get rich. They tax your income. Now, in the chat box, give me an I do. Who here on this call has a pre-taxed qualified retirement account, like an IRA, 401k, 403b, pension, profit sharing, some sort of pre-taxed retirement account? Give me an I do in the chat box. Let me know if I'm talking to people on this call.
Martin.
So here's the good news. You have what I call an enviable problem. A lot of Americans don't have a pre-tax retirement account. What's up, Debbie?
Sharon.
A lot of people don't have a pre-tax retirement account. So the fact that you do, congratulations, you have an enviable problem. Unfortunately, the government doesn't have any sympathy for you. You have money collected and saved that you have not paid taxes on. So if you don't have a plan to get the money out, they certainly do. And depending on what you do while you're alive can have a massive impact on how much you're stuck.
Real quick. That's a great point. There's one question that I think this is about the right time to ask as far as the taxes go. Them going up?
Oh yeah, great question. Great question. Yeah, where do you think tax rates are going to go over your lifetime? Now, with Trump in office, we might see lower taxes for the next few years. I would agree.
Martin, Donna, thank you.
Most people will say, well,
Martin,
taxes
right when you said it, Martin typed it instantly up.
up. Tax rates are likely to go up. And they're not going to go up on people that don't have any money or more importantly, any more income. If you don't show income, you don't pay tax. If you sell assets at a growth, you pay tax. If you earn income, you pay tax. If you have money sitting in the bank account, you're probably not going to pay much tax. It's when you spend it. Okay, so if tax rates go up, I would say this. I think your tax rates are on sale right now. If you want to make more money as you get older, if you want to maintain your lifestyle throughout retirement years, and you think tax rates are going to go up, this pre-tax retirement account is a ticking time bomb. And I'm not going to bore you with numbers. I've done this multiple times. If you want to learn more on this, we'll have opportunity for you guys to do one-on-ones with us later. Later in the call, we'll give you links for that. But if you think tax rates are going to go up, you might want to start coming up with what I call an exit strategy. How do you get the money out and reduce the amount of exposure that you actually have? And we have strategies in place for that. Because most people have bucket A, they don't have bucket B. So the first part of this conversation, I'm going to talk about products. Let's talk about products. Okay. Easy conversation. Let's look at how different products can cash flow. And I'm assuming you're age 65 and you're going to live to age 95. So we're turning your assets on to create cash flow for you to live on. I'm going to draw my three buckets here. Everybody, if you're a repeat on this call, you've seen this and understand where we're going. But there's three different types of assets. There's a lot more than that, obviously, but we can kind of summarize most of our assets into these three different buckets. Bucket number one, bucket number two, and bucket number three. Bucket number one is ordinary income. 401k, IRA, pre-tax, any pre-tax account. Bucket number two is considered growth. This is what I call the Warren Buffett bucket. Bucket number three, there's a couple ways to do this, but I'm going to talk today about section 7702. So you have three different types of assets. Let's be really simple. I have $1 million in each bucket. Now, remember this conversation? Where your money sits is more important than what it can earn, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. Because what you've decided already is that this is what you want to focus on, cash flow, not necessarily the account value. That's why this company is called Cash Flow Architects, not income architects, not asset architects. It's cash flow architects. How do we design the most cash flow? So I have $1 million in each bucket, and all of these buckets have the same dollar amount. So on paper, on surface, most people look at this and go, yeah, they're all even. They're absolutely not even. You want proof? Spend it. What's the point of saving money in the first place? At some point, you want to spend it. And if you don't spend it, you want to be able to pass on as much as you can to your family, not the IRS, not a hospital, not Wall Street when the market goes down 20%. You don't want to be losing money there. So the purpose of saving money is to spend it. So let's look at how these assets actually spend. Is this a good direction, everybody? Give me a yes in the chat box if this is what you guys want to talk about.
There you go.
Thank you, Don. All right.
Yes.
401k IRA. Most of the time when people have this type of asset, it's in an account that's considered volatile. Wall Street. Market goes up, market goes down. We hope over time that the market goes up, but it doesn't always. Look at the last 3 months. So the challenge is when you're in retirement and the market's down and you're taking money out to live on, that's a double whammy. And it really hurts your ability to create cash flow later on. So what the financial institutions say, the CFPs, the RICPs of the world, the financial planners, they say if you have $1 million in your account, you guys probably have heard of this. They say if you want this money to last you from age 65 all the way to age 95, then you shouldn't take out more than 3 to 4%. In other words, $1 million in this bucket is going to generate around $30,000 to $40,000 of income. This is what's amazing, and why I call it an enviable problem. $1 million is a lot of money. When you look at the volatility and the fees and all these things that affect the account, $30,000 to $40,000 is not a lot of cash flow. A lot of money, not a lot of cash flow. Furthermore, anybody on this call hate debt? There's debt on this account. You've worked your entire life to pay off your cars, your house, credit cards. You have no debt, except this little thing called a retirement account. There is a lien on this account that you can't even calculate. It's called a tax lien. They can't even tell you, the IRS or your CPA can't even tell you how much you owe, because it depends how much you take out. When you take distributions on this, you're going to get a 1099. The first person to get paid is the federal government. At what rate? Don't know, but it's probably going to go up over your lifetime. Where do you live? Well, the state might take a portion of that in a state tax. Some cities like Chicago, Detroit, they have a city tax on your income. If you're in over the age of 65, you understand this already. Your Medicare premiums go up. Why? Because you're showing income. Here's a fun one. Social Security, 85% of what you're entitled to, you've already paid tax on. 85% of your Social Security becomes taxable as ordinary income. That means they take it back. So when they say the Social Security is going to be broke by 2023, what they're going to do is minimize who gets it. How do you do that? Tax the money back. The more income you show, the less Social Security you keep. You don't need it. Remember? You don't need this. Sure, you've paid into it your whole life, but you're doing well based on what? Your 1040 tax return. You know the only way the IRS can determine who's wealthy in this country and who isn't is that little form right there. Think about it. Elon Musk doesn't have some crazy wealth tax because he's worth $100 billion. He's taxed on what he takes out, what he spends, what he earns, not what he has. So they tax on what you earn. And the more you earn, more income, the more you're going to get taxed. Oh, by the way, finally, didn't mention this, but your financial advisor is charging you a fee on the $1 million. Now ask yourself this, and I do this with clients all the time in jest. You have $1 million in your 401 or your IRA. Great. Bring it into the office. Get a couple of briefcases and bring that money into the office. You think anybody does it? No. Because if they took it all out of the market, they would probably keep around $600,000. You're going to have a massive tax bill if you take out $1 million of IRA. And this is why no one does it. This is your CPA would say, don't ever do that. It's going to bump you up into a higher tax bracket. Sure. What's the point of saving money so I can just take a little bit off each year? That's not the goal. So if you realize that you only have around $600,000 in that account, depending on where you live, why are you paying fees to your advisor on the full $1 million? You know, it's one of the easiest ways for a financial advisor to increase their income is to manage accounts that you haven't paid tax on yet. You're paying a fee on money that you have to give to the IRS. I'm going to take a sip of coffee on that one. This stinks. And it's what we're taught. When I was 23 years old, I was an architect in architecture school, working for an architect, funding this account. Because everybody in the office says you need to start saving for retirement. You're young, it'll compound, it'll grow. Well, here's what they didn't talk about. I was making 30 grand a year. I postponed taxes on 30 grand a year of income. For 35 years until the age I'm 60, where will tax rates be when I'm 60? And what will the account value be? It will be certainly a lot higher. I hope it would be. So now I'm postponing my tax when I'm in a small tax bracket. I'm going to pay tax at a tax rate that's unknown. And likely, if I brought home 30 grand a year, I'll tell you my wife would not be happy. So I'll be making a lot more income or cash flow when I'm 60. This becomes a nightmare. It's what I also call the enviable problem bucket. All right, enough of that. Let's talk about bucket number two. Bucket number two, growth. Well, bucket number two, we're using after-tax dollars to fund bucket number two. So the money that goes into this thing, I've already paid tax on. Let's assume that I put $500,000 in, and the second half is growth, and I start taking distributions. Well, there's a couple of ways to calculate this, but theoretically, half of what I pull out is going to be taxable. Is it taxed as ordinary income? No. It's taxed at what's called the capital gains rate, which historically has been much less than ordinary income. Now, Biden wanted to make this capital gains rate the same as the income rate, but that didn't go through. Right now, it's anywhere from 15, maybe 20%, plus Obamacare, you have 23%. But it's much less. Is it good? No. It's just less bad. Now, where's the money invested? Well, typically it's in the stuff that goes up and down, so you're subject to the same 3 to 4% rule, which means you're going to have a $30,000 to $40,000 a year of growth, where a portion of it will be taxable. Your Medicare premiums will be affected, and your Social Security could still be taxed as ordinary income up to 85%. Everybody on the call knew all of this, right? Is this new for anybody? Just type in new if this is new information. Or if it's good, if you like. I mean, this, Ricky didn't.
Yeah, we're on the right track, guys. Just want to make sure we covering what you're looking at or what you're wanting out of this webinar. Peggy. Yeah. And also for those who are late joiners, please don't worry. We do send out a replay if you did miss the first couple minutes or the first 10, 15 minutes. We will send replay out, so don't worry about it. If you're missing any part of it, we're more than happy to share the replay with you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Ricky, it's not new, so let's keep going. DiMartino, thank you, Debbie. All right, everybody. This is the product side. We've heard of these products, and now what I'm describing is how the products will cash flow. Money in the market, because it's subject to the volatility, your distribution rate stinks around 3 to 4%. It stinks. Okay. From a product perspective, how can we get a better distribution amount? That's section 7702 of the tax code. In other words, it's life insurance that's considered paid up whole life, not IULs. We use products that are considered paid up. So after 10 years or 15 years or however long, no more premiums go in. Your life insurance stays in force for the rest of your life. Life insurance is guaranteed growth. There's no volatility. Jan, good question. We'll go here in a second. Life insurance, not indexed life, not flexible premium adjustable life with an index feature. Whole life insurance is guaranteed to be worth more every single year. Indexed is not. That's why I don't use it, because I want to maximize my cash flow. I'm talking about diversification here, and we're going to go into that in a minute. The diversifying creates crazy distribution rates because I have options. Because my life insurance is worth more every single year, I can borrow against my death benefit up to the amount of cash value that I have. So my distribution rate goes from anywhere from 5 to 6%. So I can create $50,000 a year off of that product. No tax. No tax on your income, no tax on the distribution, no tax on your Social Security, no Medicare tax, no fees to a financial advisor, My distribution increases because I got rid of all that stuff. Here's what I'm hoping you're realizing right now. This moment is crucial. When you get to retirement, when you start using your assets as income or cash flow, the products you use on this side of the mountain are going to be completely different than that side of the mountain. Because your goal isn't to grow your wealth anymore, it's to preserve and spend it. So you better put some new products in place to maximize the cash flow. Whole life insurance is one of those products because it gives me the guarantee. And because Section 7702 of the tax code tells you distributions from life insurance as a loan, if I'm borrowing against my future dead self, is a source of tax-free cash flow. In other words, there is no 1099 and does not show up on your tax return. The IRS doesn't have any idea you're taking money out of your dead self. So my cash flow goes up by having a new product. Pretty cool. Robert, am I missing anything?
I think you're on the right track.
All right.
I would say the one question would be what is the strategy for this?
So here's the products that you have. Thank you, Ann. These are the products. Now, how do we put it all together? So, Robert, let's talk about strategy. Well, a lot of you have heard this word, diversification. You guys have no idea how hard it is to spell and talk at the same time. A long word like that really throws you off.
Bunch of eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just do scribble. So I can't, you can't tell me it's spelled wrong. It just looks like it's spelled wrong. Just the wrong letter. Diversification. When we say diversification, here's what people think of. Stocks and bonds. That's not diversification. Diversification is uncorrelated assets. If you're taking notes, uncorrelated assets, not stock. Can bonds go down? Yes. Can stocks go down? Yes. So we need to have another sort of diversification where some products are guaranteed to grow and some products are not guaranteed to grow. So we can hedge the volatility. Our stocks, depending on where they're held, taxable, go like this. When you sell them, you're creating a tax. So you need a diversification of taxable and not taxable. Okay? Diversification is not just stocks and bonds, everybody. That's the going up the mountainside, right? That's the left side of the mountain. Sure, stocks and bonds, my portfolio, it'll rebound. Well, get this. When you're 65, you don't have time for the market to rebound. And that describes the problem exactly. We're 30 minutes in. So if anybody has questions, go ahead and ask them. I'm going to get into one more example. Then I'm going to show you how and give you real numbers in this example. But as a theory, here's the problem. If the market goes up 10%, I can take income. I can pull money out to go buy groceries. Well, what happens when the market goes down 10%? And I still need income? I've just done a double whammy. Ron will cover that too, my friend. And the challenge is if I were to pull money out in a down year, I don't give it enough time to rebound.
Hey, Matt, we're seeing some questions here, and I'm going to go ahead. Guys, this webinar is definitely meant for an educational. Matt and I do a one-on-one that's completely free. Where we go over more specific scenarios for you. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the link into the chat box. Please feel free to click on it. I'll do it again later. Just want to let you know if you do have a very specific question, if we don't get a chance to get to it, please click on that link and schedule a one-on-one with Matt and I. We'd be more than happy to talk about your specific scenario. So
thank you. Thank you, Robert. I'm going to answer Ron's question here really quick. If you're not insurable, Ron, we still need to have the buffer from guaranteed versus non-guaranteed. So most of what you have is probably not guaranteed. So I can use real example here too, but the idea is this: when the market is down, we have an income meeting at the end of the year with all of our clients. How did the market perform last year? If the market is down, we're not taking money out next year to go buy groceries. We're going to use an uncorrelated asset that's guaranteed not to go down. I'm going to use my guaranteed asset when the market stinks. Ideally, it's not taxable. And we can talk about doing Roth conversions. Depending on your age and your situation, you can move money into a Roth, big chunks of money into a Roth that are guaranteed never to go down. The market's either going to be great or not so great. When it's not so great, you're going to want an uncorrelated asset. I always joke, when is a 0% rate of return a good rate of return? Well, when the S&P did what it did in 2022, it went down almost 20%. That means if you had $1 million, you could have lost $200,000 in that year. That is not the year you want to pull out another $100,000 to go live on, because now you're left with 700 to rebound. So you want to have a buffer. So if you can't qualify for life insurance, you need a guaranteed asset, ideally that's not taxable, but even if it is, it's guaranteed not to go down with the market. This is where we use what everybody on the call has heard of: annuities. Are annuities going to get you rich? No. Are annuities going to keep you from going broke? Yes. So do you put all your money into an annuity? Absolutely not. They won't even let you do that. But you certainly can protect your assets so that there's no downside. Because when the market, not if, when the market goes down, you better be hopeful that you have something that's not going down that you can pull from to generate income. Now, I'm going to switch my screen up. So if anybody has a question, go ahead. Now's the time. I'm going to give me a second. I'm going to pull up another file. I'm going to give you a real life example with numbers. We're 35 minutes in. We're kind of diving into the weeds. If you're like, I've seen enough, I want to do a one-on-one. As Robert said, click that link. There is no fee. We don't charge you for this, but you'll meet with me or someone from our team and go over your specific example. Right now, I'm going to pull up some slides that go over real live numbers using historical data. Data. This is good. We got a ton of people on the call. Hopefully you guys are utilizing that link. All right, one more example that I want to give you, and we'll open it up to questions. Is it sharing? Okay, here we go. All right, everybody. This is the fun part. Let's have fun. So we went from products from 3% to 5% distributions. Here's how you get a 10% distribution, by having all of these things in as an option. Okay, so here's the story. This chart shows the S&P 500 from 1970 to 1999, a phenomenal year to be investing. You baby boomers lived through some good times to start saving money. And the greatest generation had phenomenal market experience. The market averaged 14.84 over a 30-year time frame. This is where the financial gurus get it wrong. And please push back in the chat box if you think what I'm saying is incorrect or have questions. Now's the time to get tough. Nobody can see you. Call me out. Tell me I'm wrong. Show me why, because I want to know. Over 30 years, market's done 14.84. So one could assume if I have $1 million in this account, I could pull out 10% each year, just 100 grand. And I'm only pulling out the growth. And my principal, look at this account value. My principal, the amount left over in the account, just continues to grow. And gosh, look at how much money you'd have after 30 years. 15 million after taking income. Now here's a little funny little one-liner. If money worked like math, we all would be a lot more rich. Money doesn't work like math because there's a difference between constant returns and fluctuating returns. In other words, just because it averaged 14.84, does that mean it actually did 14% every single year? No. Some years are good, some years are bad. Some years are really good, some years are really bad. And the problem for the retiree is that when all of your money is exposed to that volatility, you have no choice of where to pull your income from. Over that 30-year time frame, here's what actually occurred in the market. First year didn't do so great. Next 2 years did awesome. The 2 years after that didn't do so great. So what you're seeing is the actual return is different than the average. So then the question is, if over that same 30-year time frame, I actually was invested in this S&P that averaged 14%, and I wanted to take out 10% each year, how long would the money last me? If I'm taking out 10%, start with $1 million over 30 years, it averages 14.84, but each year the market's going up and down. You end up running out of money in 15 years. That is a far cry from a 30-year timeline where you would end up with $15 million in your account. So am I saying get out of the market? No. You know why? Because these years are great when the market does phenomenal. Do you know when that's going to happen? No. And nor does any financial planner in the world. They guess with your money. Why? Why are you letting them guess with you? If you want to lose money in the market, you don't need to be paying fees to do it. Go buy an index fund. But this isn't investment advice. This is education. I'm just joking around for the SEC that's listening. Guys, do you understand you run out of money in 15 years?
Technically 14.
Yeah, 14 year, your 14th year, you're not going to have enough to go buy groceries. But that market's average 14.84%. So does it mean get out of the market? No, it means diversify asset classes. I need some that are guaranteed and some that are non-guaranteed. I need some that are taxable and some that are non-taxable, so I can maximize my cash flow. Here's the safe money withdrawal rate that I was talking about, that 3 to 4%. And what this tells you, if you want to retire and live for 30 years, how much money can you take out? 3, 4, 5, 6. If you take out 6% after 30 years, you have a 32% chance of not running out of money, which means you have a 68% chance of running out of money. So in order to get that better, if you have all of your money exposed to the market, you don't take out a whole lot. You just take out the 3. And statistically speaking, you'll have money left over. I already showed you how the insurance can spank that, go up to 5 or 6% distributions. But now when I create a buffer, watch what happens. I'm going to skip that, skip this. So your $1 million a year with safe money withdrawals, they split the difference between 3 and 4. They do 3.5, so $35,000 a year. And remember, if it's in an IRA, you owe a federal tax, state tax, local, Social Security, Medicare, financial advisor fees, blah, and then you get what's left over. Doesn't sound like a great plan. If you moved a quarter of it, $250,000 over years, not in one lump sum, but if you had this second type of asset, whether it's life insurance or an annuity, you create what's called the buffer. And here's how you do it. If at the end of the year we have our income meeting and the market doesn't do well, we determine, do we take money out of the market next year for income, or are we going to use your life insurance or annuity to generate your income? So as long as you have a few years of a buffer, your distribution can go up drastically. Check it out. By having 3 years of a buffer, by not taking money out the years after the market went down, just 3 years, this money will last for the 30-year time frame. This example shows only for 20 years, but it lasts forever. Just by having a buffer. That's all I got for today. Give me some questions. Tell me some wows. Give me a heck yeah. That link is still right there. If you open up your chat box, click the link. Let's do a one-on-one, and I'll show you how this works for you specifically. Robert, how'd I do? Any questions?
You did great. I think the biggest thing that everyone needs to understand is, we're not telling you to move all of your money. We're trying to tell you how to create that buffer. Like, we're not telling you to change your strategies. Make sure you have a strategy for when the other ones aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, right?
Yep. Now, is a 35-year-old going to go put money into an annuity? No, they're not. And I wouldn't recommend it. It's not going to make, because they have a long time to rebound if the market does poorly. Now, if you're 75, are you going to wish you had a couple of different buckets of money to pull from? Absolutely. So if age is an issue, if your health, someone asked that question, if you can't qualify, what do? Well, maybe we don't do life insurance. We would do an annuity that still creates that floor of zero. By the way, there's no fees on the annuity. So you get rid of the fees and you get rid of the volatility. And perhaps we can do a reverse or a Roth conversions to move that money into a tax-free bucket so that there's no RMDs and that there's no tax for inheritance. Does the cash flow taken out of life insurance annuity count as an RMD?
That
Debbie,
is
great
something
question.
we forgot, Matt. We forgot about the one very nice benefit of whole life. You also have a death benefit that replenishes the assets that you're spending.
100%, dude. Thank you. The death benefit, I don't even call it death benefit. It's not
Asset.
life insurance. It's asset insurance. So you have $1 million in assets. You want $1 million death benefit so you can spend it to zero. Now you have that all replaced. There's so much fun things to talk about here that don't require you to take risk. I'm not saying go buy an investment fund that's supposed to do 30% next year. That's not. I'm saying take a portion of your earnings, take a portion of your portfolio, get it off the radar screen of the IRS for income tax purposes, create a floor, get rid of the fees, get rid of the taxes. Debbie, does cash flow taken out of the life insurance annuity count as an RMD? Double question. Cash flow out of life insurance has no RMD, so it doesn't affect that at all. If your money is still in a pre-taxed account, even if it's inside of an annuity, yes, the money coming out will satisfy RMD. So depending on age, a lot of times what we do, a 70-year-old is going to have to take money out pretty soon anyway, and they're going, well, I don't know what to do with it. What a great way to fund life insurance. Take the money out, pay the tax, stuff it into a life insurance policy that's going to give you more death benefit than you had, and there's no tax due on that. So like when you're gone, Debbie, when you're gone, your spouse is a single taxpayer. That's the condolence from the IRS. Sorry for your loss. Now whoever's left is a single taxpayer. By the way, they still have to pay tax on everything that they're getting when they take it out. And usually it's going to be worse because they're a single taxpayer. So talking about this, the sooner is always better. Some is always better than none. Why not a max cash value IUL? John, great question. I'm not a huge fan of IUL for retirement distributions because of this. When the market's down, IUL is not going to grow. Whole life will. It's literally, dude, it's that simple. And, jokingly, IUL, I think, is really pushed way too much right now. And I think it's because of the TikToks and all the people out there these young people are selling IUL because the growth is based on the market and you still get a floor. No, you don't. There's fees, there's surrender charges, there's cost of insurance that comes out of that policy forever, and they're not showing it to you. They don't even have to. It's crazy, dude. But for retirement, I use life insurance whole life for the guarantees and the tax code. IUL doesn't have the guarantees, but it does have the tax code. Okay, so it's kind of like bucket two. It's less. It's not great. It's just not as good. And John, the illustrations on IUL always look great. They are so fake. Why? And I hope you're looking at the screen right here. Here's why they're fake. Because the IUL illustration will show 7% every year, just like this is showing 14% every year. The market doesn't actually do that. So the IUL suffers. IUL is a way for the insurance company to put risk on you, not them. Whole life puts risk on the insurance company, not you. You're going to take risk in the market with all of your other funds. Your safety bucket, your buffer, your uncorrelated assets should not be tied to the market. I hope I gave you a good answer, bro. Use a QLAC. What's a QLAC?
Know what a QLAC is.
I feel like that one guy that was running as an independent, and they go, how do you feel about Aleppo? And he goes, what's Aleppo? Let me Google that.
Please remember, this is a kind of blanket education here. We love to go into specific scenarios with you, see where you're at. I mean, everyone's different ages and in different spots of their life. So, please click the link for the one-on-one so we can go ahead and actually talk about your specific scenario. We don't charge a fee. The insurance companies pay us. So we don't charge a fee at all. Not for the one-on-one, not for the webinar, not for the process. So yeah, just please let us know. We'll get you guys in there so you can talk to Matt and myself.
And
from someone from our team.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for that, Robert. Everybody should be clicking that link. If not, tell me why.
Yeah.
But the QLAC, yeah, it's an annuity contract. So 100%, I don't call it a QLAC, but we have products to do basically what this is talking about. Yes, that's exactly what we do. One more question too from Annie. Is it wrong to place most products in one basket like Fidelity? This is I don't know if I can give you a group answer for everybody. It's definitely a one-on-one type question. Now, here's a quick story. My grandfather worked for at the time, the biggest company in the world, General Motors. He retired in the early 2000s, and soon after, General Motors went bankrupt. His stocks were involved with General Motors stocks. His income while he worked was involved with General Motors. His retirement strategies depended on pensions from General Motors. When they went bankrupt, he lost a lot, but he had dementia. He didn't know it, and he passed away fairly soon after that. Is it wrong to have your money in Fidelity? No, I'm going to tell you that. No, it's not. The challenge, I don't care if it's Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Merrill Lynch, I don't care if it's John Kulak down the street. If they're not talking about how to maximize retirement income by reducing your exposure to risk, that's the problem.
Also, your exit strategy, right, Matt? I mean,
exactly.
a lot of people
they're not talking. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good.
If they're not talking about the exit strategy and how to maximize it, that's the issue. Look, we have guys that manage money. You could keep your money with Fidelity and still do what I'm talking about. We could help you facilitate this with a portion of what you have at Fidelity. Is Fidelity going to be happy? No, but they're not talking to you about it. This is your money, not theirs. You know, I used to say there's a funny, how do you spell theirs?
Oh, there, and there.
It's your money, not theirs. The IRS. And it's the same with Fidelity. You're in charge of that. So you could stay there, you could not. But if they're not talking about what I'm talking about, then I would hope you give us a chance to help you out. That's what the link is for.
All right.
Gene, I see you on the calendar, which is great. We'll see you soon.
Yep.
I'm gonna stay on here for a couple of minutes just while people are either clicking the link or typing in some questions. I'll stop the share here so you can see our semi pretty faces.
If anyone is still on here, when we send the replay out, guys, it will have a link also attached to it for the one-on-one. So if you want to show it to your wife, husband, anyone else that you want to show the replay to before you talk to us, please feel free to do that. And there is a link attached to the email. So you can click on that link and schedule your one-on-one. We love talking to people about this. I mean, our biggest thing is finding a solution, right? So if I want to find a solution, everyone's different, let us know. We'll be happy to talk to you and can't wait to see everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Debbie, we'll see you tomorrow. I'm excited to chat and I appreciate you being patient. We are moved into the new house. So now it just comes down to, thank you, Ricky.
Thank you, Ricky.
We are moved into our new house. We moved in last Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's all boxes. I have 3 little kids.
Okay.
Yeah, 2, 4, and 6 years old. So they're not lifting boxes, but they're certainly in the way of me carrying boxes. It's been a very long 4 days, very sore.